There are people who chase every like and still never feel seen. They refresh their feeds obsessively. They have followers in the thousands. They're posting all the right things. And yet, deep down, there's always this quiet ache that it's not enough. This isn't about being vain. And it's not about attention seeking. It's about psychology. Because when someone hoards validation online, they're usually not hoarding praise. They're hoarding worth. Let's talk about what's really going on. For some people, social media doesn't represent connection. It represents proof. It's a shield against invisibility, against rejection, against the feeling of being irrelevant. Often, this starts early. Maybe they grew up in a home where approval was conditional. Achievements sparked praise, but quiet moments brought silence. Love felt earned, not given. So, the brain learned a simple rule. More likes equal more value. That belief sticks around even when life gets fuller. Sharing doesn't feel like expression. It feels like exposure, like baring your soul for judgment. And that's why even small posts can cause anxiety, not because the content matters, but because self-worth feels on the line. Another trait that shows up again and again is comparison bias. Psychologists have studied this for years. Seeing someone else's highlight reel stings more than your own wins feel good. In fact, it stings about twice as much. For someone who hoards online validation, this effect is amplified. The emotional dip from a low engagement post outweighs the high of real-life joys. So, they avoid logging off. They curate endlessly. They chase trends. Not because they don't value offline life, but because the perceived loss of relevance feels unbearable. Then there's belonging. This is a big one. People think social media addiction is about ego. It's not. It's about belonging. Knowing exactly who's engaging, tracking every notification, feeling calm only when the interactions flow steadily. The follower count becomes an emotional anchor. When it's growing, they feel included. When it stalls, isolation creeps in, even if nothing else in life has changed. The platform isn't the goal. The sense of fitting in is. And here's where things quietly start to turn unhealthy. Scrolling slowly replaces connecting. There's always one more post to perfect, one more story to share, one more trend to jump on, one more algorithm to game. I'll unplug after this. I'll engage in real life once I hit that milestone. I'll be present later. But later keeps scrolling away. Because the truth is, true belonging never arrives through screens alone. Eventually, validation seeking becomes a permanent loop. Connection becomes a cage. Another common trait is failure avoidance. These people aren't trying to maximize joy. They're trying to minimize dismissal. They don't want to look back and think, I shouldn't have shared that. I came across wrong. I lost followers over nothing. So, they choose over-editing, over-posting, over-analyzing, because inaction online feels riskier than blending in wrong. But here's the uncomfortable part. Oversharing is still a risk. And presence is the one asset you can't refresh. There's also an identity component that most people don't talk about. Many validation hoarders see themselves as the relatable one, the engager, the curator in the crowd, the person who stays relevant. They've built an identity around visibility. Logging off threatens that identity. Solitude feels suspicious. Downtime feels obsolete. If they step back, there's a quiet fear underneath it all. Who am I if I'm not the connected one? That question keeps a lot of people glued. Now, it's important to say this clearly. None of this means someone is flawed. These traits usually come from empathy, creativity, and social instincts. They learned how to seek out bonds. That matters. But survival mode in the digital world isn't meant to be permanent. At some point, the habit that kept you noticed starts holding you hostage. Engaging is smart, sharing is powerful, but social media was never meant to only make you feel seen. It's also meant to be used intentionally, sparingly, and without constant craving. Real connection isn't just having enough likes. It's feeling worthy enough to actually live offline. To share without obsession, to enjoy without metrics, to trust that you've built real relationships and you don't have to chase them like they might vanish tomorrow. Because if validation only ever reduces loneliness but never builds true bonds, then it's not serving you. And the goal isn't to delete your accounts. The goal is to stop being defined by them. That's the difference between connecting and craving. And once you see that difference, your relationship with the world can finally feel real.